I got a pretty lengthy article here, so I'm not going to read it out. I'm going to link to it in the description below so you can go read it for yourselves. But to briefly surmise, this article is saying that Al Haymon is still working behind the scenes on bringing his PBC brand and model to the United Kingdom in the very near future. However, there's a little wrinkle in this. There's a little caveat. Apparently, ITV, who are the broadcaster that Haymon is supposedly working with behind the scenes to bring PBC to the UK, ITV have registered ITV box office with Ofcom. Ofcom are the broadcasting regulatory body in the United Kingdom. So ITV registering a box office name with Ofcom. Does that mean they're going to be trying to do box office boxing? Or is that going to be to do with movies or other stuff? Maybe all of them. Maybe movies and all kinds of other stuff, including boxing on box office. This kind of defeats the purpose, some people are going to say, of having PBC in the UK. If Al Haymon's just going to go to the UK and start doing pay-per-views, well, we've already got pay-per-views. We've got Eddie Hearn and obviously Box Nation are talking about doing pay-per-views and their content is already behind a paywall. What people are excited about is the potential of Al Haymon going to the UK and doing boxing for free, like he's doing it in the United States for most of his shows. Not making people pay. We've already got that. We want free stuff. This is what most people are saying. Now, there are other people out there who say that they don't mind pay-per-view if it's value for money. At the end of the day, high-profile fighters against high-profile opponents requires a lot of money to make happen. So if you've got a bunch of high-profile guys against a bunch of high-profile opponents on the same card, realistically, it's not really going to be able to go on free television. The TV companies are just not paying out the type of rights fees that they used to be able to facilitate those kind of cards. The money has to come from somewhere. However, the biggest complaint that boxing fans in Britain have had about pay-per-view in recent years is that they're not value for money and that the fights are not high profile enough to justify pay-per-view. Back in the days, pay-per-view used to be the very, very biggest fighters in boxing. Lewis against Tyson, Tyson against Holyfield. Those kind of fights, massive super fights. They were the only ones that were on pay-per-view, in the UK at least anyway. Whereas today, it's like even British title fights are on pay-per-view. We saw Anthony Joshua against Dillian Whyte, pay-per-view. And it was a good fight, it was a good card. But was it really pay-per-view worthy? This is the questions people are asking. So, if ITV start doing pay-per-view boxing, I think some people wouldn't mind it, or they wouldn't hate it at least, as long as it's only reserved for the very, very massive fights. If it's a case of having British title fights, European fights, and some world title fights on ITV for free, and then having the mega fights on pay-per-view, I'm sure a lot of people would accept that. Some people would still complain, obviously, but I think a lot of people would accept that. So have a read of the article for yourselves, people. Let me know what you think. And as I always say, I include promoters, advisors, managers, and everybody in this when I say it. Nobody is below praise and nobody is above criticism. If Al Haymon sets up shop in the UK and doesn't provide good value, if he's going to do pay-per-views, if he's not providing good value, I will be the first one to complain. I've always felt that the PBC model would work much better in the UK than it does in the United States. Apparently PBC are losing money and all types of stuff because boxing is just not that big in the United States relative to the population as boxing is in the UK relative to the population. It's far bigger in the UK. Far, far bigger. The fans, British boxing fans, are far more passionate about their fighters than American boxing fans. Even American fighters and American broadcasters who have visited the UK and attended British boxing shows will tell you that. Even James Toney, when he was in the UK a few years ago for Prize Fighter, he went back to the United States and he was doing interviews with Ellie Seckbach and whatnot, and he was like, look, the British boxing fans are the best fans in the world. They're way better than American boxing fans, and I don't care what nobody says about it. That's James Toney, an all-time great, one of the greatest fighters in the past few decades from America. And he's there saying British boxing fans are better than American boxing fans. I'm telling you people, there's far more passion for the sport of boxing in the United Kingdom than there is in America at this point in time. It wasn't always like that. But at this point in time, that's how it is. So I think British fans would respond far better to getting free big fights on terrestrial television. I mean, you look at David Haye. By the way, David Haye is one of the people who apparently PBC are looking to work with. Al Heyman and PBC are looking to work with if they start doing shows in the UK. They're looking to work with David Haye, unsurprisingly. Now, you look at David Haye when he fought on Dave. For those of you who don't know, for those of you who are maybe not from the UK and don't know of the television station, David Haye had his last couple of fights on that station. That station is primarily a comedy channel. And some people would say it's very appropriate for the level of opponents that David Haye was fighting, but still, it's a comedy channel, not a boxing channel at all. Not a channel that draws boxing viewers. They'd never done a boxing event ever in the history of that channel prior to David Haye being on there a couple of fights ago. And even so, they managed to draw, I believe it was like 3 million people. It may have been more than that, watching David Haye's fight. And this is in a country of only 60 million in population. They managed to draw 3 or 4 million, whatever it was, to watch David Haye fight on a comedy channel, which has nothing to do with boxing. That is phenomenal numbers for a population that small on a comedy channel for a boxing event. So if you put somebody like a David Haye on ITV, a mainstream UK channel, which does have a long history of doing boxing, and is a much more watched channel in general. The viewing figures on ITV in general are way higher than they are on Dave. So you put somebody like David Haye on ITV, prime time, I'm telling you people, with the right opponent, David Haye is going to do close to 10 million viewers, at least 5-6 million viewers with the right opponent, maybe even 10. He's going to do phenomenal numbers if that was PBC. This is what the UK, boxing market has to offer. Al Heyman may not understand the dynamics of the UK boxing scene. So maybe he's thinking, you know what, maybe we need pay-per-view as a contingency plan. I think it would be a mistake for Al Heyman to arrive in the UK and start talking about pay-per-views. I think if he's smart, he would realize it's actually not needed. That his time buy model, which isn't working that well in the United States, would work far better in the UK. Buying time off ITV, because remember, ITV have got several television channels. ITV1, ITV2, ITV3, ITV4, all their different channels. And PBC would be getting advertised across all the ITV platforms, all the ITV channels. You know, they'll be getting advertising during ITV's prime time commercial slots. You know, during weekdays or on weekends at prime time, PBC will be getting advertised. I'm telling you right now, people, with somebody like David Haye on board or whatever other British fighters they can get. Carl Frampton is obviously an Al Heyman fighter, Lee Selby, James DeGale. Those kind of guys appearing on ITV. Huge numbers, massive numbers, astronomical numbers, huge amounts of advertising revenue would be made. I'm telling you, I know the UK market. You know, a lot of people, again, who are from overseas, don't understand the UK market. They'll think, oh no, it'll be just like the America. It won't work very well. No. You don't understand the UK market. It would work very, very well, that model in the UK. And I think, as I say, sorry to repeat and reiterate, I think it would be a mistake trying to go down the pay-per-view route unless it is only reserved for the very, very, very big fights. Mega fight, not just standard world title fights, mega fights. Then pay-per-view might be understandable. So again, people, sorry to digress a little bit in this video and waffle on, but have a read of the article for yourselves. Let me know what you think and drop your comments in the comment section below. All right? It's your boy Hatman. I'm out.